Good day to all of you, and welcome to Bug Bounty 101, Walking Your First Bug. So basically in this talk, I will introduce to you on how to spot common vulnerabilities in functionalities of the application. Also, I will be providing on some pointers on how to create a good report. Okay, let's move to the next slide. So who am I? My name is Naps, and I'm a ROOTCON goon. Currently, I'm working as an application security engineer at BugCrowd. As an application security engineer, we do triage, investigate, and reproduce bug bounty reports from security researchers. So, bug bounty program is a deal offered by many websites, organizations, and software developers by which individuals can receive recognition and compensation for reporting bugs, especially those pertaining to security exploits and vulnerabilities. So, bug bounty platforms are software used to deploy bug bounty programs. So there are a lot of hackers nowadays that are interested in bug bounty, probably because of the fame and the rewards. So just imagine the rewards is like thousands of dollars in just one critical vulnerability report. So for beginners, I'll be discussing some short introduction of HTTP basic, and let's have a quick dive of HTTP basics. So everything you do in browser, there's a request and a response. For example, if you visit rootcon.org, you will be sending a request to the server, and the server will respond to you, and that's the response. So in this example, this is a request and response. This is the request, and this is the response. We visited the rootcon.org and /html rc15 talks, and that's it. So the request URL endpoint is this one, the URL. Okay. So moving on, we will be talking about parts of the request, and this is what you call method or a verb. It is located at the first line of the request. It can be a get, a post, or delete, or there are a lot of methods out there, but we will be discussing just get and post just for basic. So next one is host. Host is the domain that you are requesting. As you can see, the domain here is rootcon.org. So cookies are small blocks of data created by a web server while a user is browsing a website. This is the cookie. So usually when you log in, you will be receiving a cookie. So let's move on. So that's the request, and there are also what you call response, but I will not be discussing it since this is just a quick dive. Okay. So let's move on to the bug hunting tools. Of course, we need tools to automate our bug bounty hunting to be more efficient and to lessen the time in finding bugs. So I talked to some of the bug bounty hunters out there, like Evan Ricafort, the human payload, and I will be discussing why Evan is a human payload later. And J. Mark, Stanyo, Clifford, Jason Sabate, and Royce Castillo. And I asked them to provide the tools that they use in bug bounty hunting. So I compiled them and put it here. So there are a lot of this is the list of the tools. So each tool have a specific use and function. For today, I will not be using all these tools, but make sure to check them out. I'll just be using my handy dandy Burp Suite. So Burp Suite is a tool used for intercepting, viewing, and modifying all requests and responses. And mostly these are HTTP and HTTPS. So for the sake of beginners that would like to learn, this is a demonstration on how Burp Suite works. Let's just say rootcon.org have a chat functionality and you could talk to print sticks. So this is print sticks and we will be chatting, we will be sending a hello word to him. So as mentioned before, there will be a request and a response. Now, this is how it works. When you send the chat hello to print sticks, there will be a request to rootcon.org server, specifically to the send message file. So the parameter here is the GUN and the message. So as you can see, there's a GUN. In Burp Suite, so upon sending in Burp Suite, what we could do is block or intercept that request. So after that, we can now modify it and change the GUN parameter to SEMPIX. So now it is changed. It is now the modified request. And we could remove the intercept or the blocker of Burp Suite. And now we can forward the request again. Now that we know that Burp Suite can see requests, HTTP and HTTPS protocol, we can also use this for debugging and analyzing application, as long as we can modify the proxy of the application. So just for an example, we will be using a SQL map. So I made a SQL map command here, just basic SQL map, and then so this is the Burp Suite. So in SQL map, most commands is just you will just insert the URL, and then if you insert the proxy, which is 127.0.0.1, that is the default proxy of Burp Suite. So once we enter this, as you could see, there are requests coming from SQL map, and we could see it here in Burp Suite. So in each request, there is a payload. See? Now, there's no response because my server, my local server, the 3000 port is currently offline. So aside from SQL map, you could use this on different applications as well. For example, you downloaded a Python exploit and we need to modify or to know why it is not working, or we could use the Burp Suite. So such that you could understand the request that the Python exploit that we downloaded from the internet. So you could also use this in the curl request. So let's move forward. So let's go to the common bugs in the application. Most of the application has a registration form wherein we can register for our user. So for our first bug is registration request over HTTP. So for registration over HTTP, we'll just play this here. So what we need is to look for the registration form there. We will be just inserting our username and password. Confirm password. So after creation of the account, as mentioned, there will be a request for account creation. Since Burp Suite could see the request and could see all the requests from that are using HTTP, we could check this in the HTTP history of Burp Suite. So in this example, as you can see, this is the post method, and we could see our username and then the password. So as you could see, the request is sent at HTTP protocol. So some hunters out there are thinking that this is the HTTP protocol used, but that's not the HTTP. It is the HTTP version of the request. Mhm. So that's it. Okay, so let's move to the another bug. Another bug is registration request no rate limiting account creation. So in this one, again, this is for the registration form. We just need to register. So let's create an account. So after account creation, we will check the HTTP history of Burp Suite. So this is the registration request that we made. So we will be sending it to the intruder, and we will be clearing the payload position first. So as you can see, it is now cleared. So we will insert the payload position at the last character of our username. So that's the payload position. And then we will go to the payload tab. And then we will use numbers and start it from 2 to 50 only. So normally in bug hunting, you should use around 100 account creation from 1 to 100. So this for demo only, we will be using 49 requests only. Now, so these are the payload. As you can see, for every request, there is a payload. So for request number 3, the payload is number 4. That's why the username is Robin4. So as you can see, it's changing. Robin10. Now, we will just wait until all the request is done. We are now in the 37th request. Okay. 43 requests, 44, almost done. And let's go to the last request. And that is the request number 49. And to verify that all, I mean, that the account is created, we will just use the last account created. That is Robin50. The username is Robin50. Okay, so we will try to log in as Robin50 to check if the account is created automatically. So as you can see, we are already logged in as Robin50. So the security impact of this kind of issue is we could create thousands of user or hundreds of user. However, for testing purposes only, we created 50. So take note and please be mindful that do not create thousands of users. Just create 100 users. And that's enough for POC demonstration. Okay. Now moving on. Our second bug for account registration form bugs is registration request no rate limit, and that's done. Let's go for the third bug, and that is registration request no rate limit email triggering. So this is the same as an account registration no rate limit. For every account created, there's a verification email, right? So this will be an issue because the mail server can send thousands of email again. So take note that take note that you should only send 50 to 100 requests for this kind of issue. So it's different from account account creation if the endpoint is different. So always check that out. So there are only so that's 3 bugs for account registration, and it's up to you to learn and to study what are the other bugs that you can find in account registration form bugs. So let's move on to the login form bugs. This is login over HTTP. So in here, we can see the request of a login is using HTTP protocol. So if you can see, if you log in, if you saw this, it is using HTTP protocol, then you could report it. So for our second bug for login form, this is the login request, no rate limit, brute force. So for brute force, we'll be testing the brute force. So by the way, I use Mutliday here. It's a classic vulnerable web application. So for this is used for testing. So what we need to do is to log in and just use an incorrect password and check the HTTP history again of Burp Suite. So send it to intruder. Remember to use an incorrect password at the first time. So we will be adding the payload position at the password, and then we will be loading the 25 password word list only. So in bug bounty, you should use 300 password list. Okay. So for demo purposes, we will be using 25 password list only. So after entering the password list, we will be inserting our correct password, which is Robin. So this is to why we inserted the correct password is to simulate the brute force login, because sometimes server responses are different, or sometimes it can provide you a false response. So that's why you need to insert the correct password at the last payload list. So then we will start the attack. So for each request, we have different words. As you can see, there is a password and it's changing for every request. Yeah. So that's it. And at 26 requests, this is the correct password. And as you can see, the status and the length is different. That means we are already logged in, or we have a correct password. Okay. Brute force. So let's move on. Again, there are other bugs aside from this, but we just discussed two bugs. All right. So let's move on to the other bugs, which is account or profile page. So what can you find in this form? I mean, in this page, what kind of bugs you can find? This is no password confirmation upon account deletion. So in some cases that the application profile page does not have a password confirmation before account deletion, you can report that kind of bug. So in Facebook, whenever we delete our account, I think there's a password confirmation. So if ever you can delete your account without a password confirmation, that's a bug. So other bugs in the account profile page is EXIF data is not removed on uploaded image. So EXIF stands for exchangeable image file format. Every time you take a picture with your digital camera or mobile phone, there is a metadata included, like date, time, model, or camera settings. And to add further, there is what you call GPS coordinate. Okay. So in this example, what you need to do to verify the EXIF data is not removed is you need an image with an EXIF data. So I downloaded an EXIF data, an image with an EXIF data in the internet. So as you can see, there's a longitude and latitude, or the GPS coordinate of the image. And what you can do is upload it in your profile page, or your profile image, as a profile image. And then once uploaded, to verify is you need to download it first, because sometimes application nowadays process your uploaded image or remove the EXIF data. That's why you need to download it. just to verify if the EXIF data is not removed. So we already downloaded, and this is the downloaded file. And as you can see, the longitude and latitude is still there. That means that the EXIF data is not removed. Okay. So that's how you verify for an EXIF data when the image is uploaded. So make sure that the image is available to the public or other users of the applications, such that there's a security impact. So this issue can be found also in image gallery or file upload, or in, I mean, or in any file upload form. So just make sure that it is available to the other users. So I'm not sure if you already watched the Netflix documentary, Don't Fuck with Cats. The EXIF data is one of the clues they use to identify the location of the serial killer. What investigators did is they downloaded all the public images of the suspect in and check if there's an EXIF data. So it's a pretty cool documentary. Make sure you watch it. So that's two bugs again for profile page. I'm pretty sure that there will be other bugs out there, and it's up to you to find out and learn what are the other bugs. So let's move on to the password reset or change. Password reset slash change. So for password reset change bug, there is a no rate limiting password reset request that leads to email flooding. Almost the same as an account registration form bugs, that the difference is this on the password request endpoint, and there will be an email of a password reset URL. Okay, so these are the steps to validate this bug. Just intercept the password reset request, send the request to the intruder, clear the payload position, set the payload as a null payload, and generate 100 payloads, and then start the attack. Okay. So for no password policy, if you change your password or if you reset your password and it accepts one character and has no minimum length, you could report it. Meaning you could insert one character only, like A, or you could, it accepts a blank or a space character. That is an issue that you could report. Okay, let's move on to our next bug, and that is password reset token over HTTP. So this is an example of a password reset over HTTP. So as you can see, what you need to do is you could check the URL of the password reset. So this one is using HTTP, and again, that's an issue. You could report it. So for our next bug is password reset token is not invalidated after use. This is when you request for a password reset and you can use it multiple times, meaning you could use the password reset URL multiple times and it does not expire. So if you saw something like that, you could report it. But sometimes the password have a long expiry time, for example, 1 day or 2 days, but companies do company the company doesn't accept it if it has a password, I mean expiry of the password token. Okay, let's move on. So token leakage at the third party via referrer. So what you can do to check if the password reset token is leaking at the third party is just to copy the URL of the password reset. So in this example, our password reset is rootcon.org home reset. As you can see, that's the password reset URL. Just an example. Then make just copy it and make sure you use an incognito mode browser without any extensions on it. Sometimes browser extension leaks sensitive URLs of the application. So just copy the URL and paste it in the incognito mode browser, and you could click this part of the burps application to open the filter settings. By the way, this is for the burp suite pro. I checked it in the community edition and there's no filtering of requests. So as you can see, this is the password reset token. So I'm just guessing that this might be the E parameters value is the token. So I will be just copying it and pasting it here in the filter by search term. Copy the token. So again, after you copied it, and then uh you visit it via your browser's incognito mode and check the HTTP history. If there's a domain that leaks for the password reset token, so that domain might be a social media or a third party application. So in this case, the rootcon.org might be using walk the bug scripts hello.js. So it is leaking the password reset token at walkthebug.org at the referrer header here. So our next bug is session is not invalidated upon password change. So, so to validate this kind of bug is you just use one user, log in or authenticate in the application, and use two browser. Let's call it browser A and browser B. So change the password in browser A and check if the session is still valid in browser B. So try to refresh the page in browser B or update any settings like your username or password. I mean your username, or you could insert anything if it's still valid, and then you could report that kind of issue because the session in is still valid in browser B. So that's for our password reset change bug. Then let's go to the logout or sign out bug. Our first bug is failure to invalidate session on logout. So for failure to invalidate session on logout, this must be client and server side. Uh, if you log out on the application, the server, the session must be removed, or your all of your cookie must be removed. But if you, what you need to do to check if it's a valid issue is log in the application and then try to click the back button of the browser. And if your session is still valid and you could do anything like change the settings of your user, or you could update your username, that's an issue because the session is still valid at the client session. Okay, so let's move on to the lack of security header cache control for sensitive page. uh okay, here. So what you need to do is to log in your account, and you need to look for a sensitive page. In this example, we'll be using the user profile just for example, and there is an API key at the username. So this means that this page is sensitive. So what you need to do is click the logout button of the application and click the back button of the browser. If you could see it again, the sensitive page, then that would be an issue because there's no cache control header on that page. Okay, then let's move on other bug. This is content spoofing, impersonation via broken link hijacking. This is our first bug for this content spoofing, and be showing you a demo here. So as you can see, rootcon.org has an social media icons that is linked to the external websites. So in this example, we'll be using this Twitter account. And after clicking the Twitter account, we could see that this account doesn't exist. So that is for Cornroots PH. So what we need to do is edit our username on Twitter. So we will be copying the Cornroots PH and then we will paste it as our username. Okay. So after saving it, we will check if we already claimed the account. So the link is not yet updated on my profile page of Twitter. So what we will need to do is to click again the link at the ROOTCON. So as you can see, we already claimed the Cornroots PH of the Twitter account. So most likely these are third parties for this kind of issue, the content spoofing. And you could see it I mean sometimes it is social media, or it might be a domain that is not registered or expired. If you could claim it, that's an issue. So after claiming it, of course, just take note that do not post any offensive posts because this is not good for the company. This is just an example of the offensive posts. So use something like this, that post that is not offensive, POC by naps. Just insert your name to uh, to to be verified that this account is truly claimed by you. Okay? So let's move on for content spoofing email HTML injection. So an email HTML injection can exist everywhere, especially if there's an email. This is usually found in account registration, profile pages, because you could change your first name and last name. So in this example, we will be using account registration. So normally we will input our names and last name here. So upon registration or after the registration, you will be receiving this kind of email. Since I inputted naps in the first name, I will receive hi naps. Okay. So what if we could inject HTML payloads such as this one? In this example, we will be using evanrecafort.com profile/profile.png. Once the account is created, you will be receiving an email like this. So there's no name since we inserted an HTML payload in the first name. Now that's a bug. So as mentioned before, Evan Report is actually being used in bug bounty reports. So for access control vulnerabilities, broken access control vulnerabilities exist when a user can in fact access some resource or perform some action that they are not supposed to be able to access. So let's say we have simple role-based access control. We have the 3 roles. So each role have a specific permissions. We have 4 functionalities like create, view, update, delete. So for the admin role, he can do everything. But for the editor role, he can't delete. And the staff role can only use the view function, okay? So for access control vulnerabilities for horizontal, IDOR or horizontal privilege escalation, this is when a user gains access of another user who has the same access level as the attacker. For vertical privilege escalation is when a user gains access to the rights of a user with higher privileges. Now, I will giving you an example for the horizontal IDOR. So we are currently logged in as Batman. The username is Batman, and we will be creating a blog post for testing purposes only. So after creating that blog post, we will check it in the Burp Suite. So there you go. As you can see, this is the request of the blog post creation. And what we need is this username, Batman, and the UID. Okay, we will copy it. Okay, that's our victim. So that's for Batman. And then we will be using our other browser, which is Superman. So as Superman, will be creating again a blog post. Testing post again, and then let's check for that specific post. Testing for Superman. Okay, then we will search it. So this is the blog entry. This is the blog creation again, and we will send this to the repeater. So as you can see, there is a username equals to Superman and the UID equals to 80. Then we will copy the previous request from Batman and we will paste it here in the cookie. We will change it to Batman. So by the way, this request is Superman, right? But we just changed the username and the UID, and then we will be sending it. Okay, and then send it. So as you can see, this is the Superman page, and we will refresh it. There's no post. We will go to the Batman user, which is our victim. And as you can see, the Batman created a post. So as Superman, we successfully posted a blog entry for our victim Batman. Okay. Okay, let's move on to our so horizontal either or privilege escalation. Uh, so that's the horizontal either or privilege escalation, meaning we could do what other users can do and create requests on their behalf. Since we supplied a user ID and username of our victim. So guys, in checking if there's an access control issue, we need to have multiple test accounts with different roles. So in this case, we use the same roles as staff. So uh, this is our next. So this other bug, which is privilege escalation, but and we are currently logged in as an administrator, and we are in this page, administration page. So so as an admin, we will just check for the deletion of customer feedback requests. Okay, so we will be intercepting this. Let's clear the history first, and then turn on the interception of burp suite, and then click the delete button to check for the delete request. Now, as you can see, this is the delete request. So we will be sending it to the repeater, then drop it. Since it is dropped, the request was never sent to the server. Now to check it, we will be reloading it or refreshing it if that specific feedback is still there. Okay. So that's for the admin user. Now we will go to our other browser. Currently, we are already logged in as jando@rootcon.org, and we will check if we could visit that specific administration page. As you can see, we are not allowed to access that page. Okay. Now for testing purposes, we will be adding a basket. We will add a product on our basket. So this is, again, this is the low privilege account. So we just added apple juice on our basket. And then we will be sending it to the repeater. So these cookies are for John Doe at rootcon.org, the low privilege user. So after sending it to the repeater, what we need to do next is check it if the request is correct. And then there you go, there is a status response. So we will go back again to our admin page. I mean for our admin user, delete feedback request. And what we need to use is this top portion of that request, the delete API feedbacks. So we will check it again in our admin user if the specific feedback is deleted and it's still there. So we will just copy the top portion, copy it, and paste it here. Then we will delete the post body and then send it. So as you can see, it is, the response is 200 and status is success. So to check it, we will check it again using an admin user and then refresh this page. Now it is deleted. Using cookies of a low privilege user, we deleted the customer feedback. Okay. So that's for the vertical privilege escalation or vertical IDOR. So in the previous demo, the staff does not have an access to the graphical user interface of customer feedback or the administration page. So that's why he can't delete it. So maybe the developer thought if the staff role does not have an access to the GUI or the graphical user interface, it can't use that specific functionality. However, since we copied the specific URL for, or the, yes, that specific URL for the deletion of the feedback, we could delete the feedback as a staff role. So in this kind of attack, the staff role just needs endpoints of the URL of the of that specific functionality. Okay. Let's move on. Now that's for authenticated users, the vertical and the horizontal. Now there are some cases that an unauthenticated user can access those functionalities. Now to check this, to check if an authenticated user can access it is just omit or remove the cookies. So that means everything, anyone could actually use those functionalities given that they know that endpoint or that specific URL. Okay. So that's for the common bugs in the application. We already discussed the access control vulnerabilities, content spoofing, logout, password reset, account profile page bugs, login form bugs, and account registration form bugs. Now, hopefully this will help you in catching your very first bug. Now let's move on creating a bug bounty report. Always read the program brief first. So always read the program brief first to prevent point deduction. Okay, so always target the in-scope target. If there's a chance that you bump into a target or a bug that is not in the program brief and you think that that's critical bug, kindly ask the program owner or the bug bounty platform supports team before you create a report. Okay, so for our second pointers is to provide the vulnerable request or the full HTTP request or the URL endpoint. So for HTTP request or HTTP dump, so this is the full HTTP request from the previous slides on our horizontal IDOR. What we need to do is you copy the request and just, if you want, you could redact some data that is not necessary just to make it smaller and easier to read. And if the value is dynamic or if the or it is changing per user, you could enclose the value with greater than and less than. Okay, so in here I redacted some of the header like user agent and the accept language, so it's much more readable, right? So our next pointer is detailed POC steps. So your proof of concept, it doesn't need to be a long steps, but it can be short and detailed. And for example, this step one, login as user, A at http rootcon/login24 and visit URL, this URL. So I inserted the login page URL because sometimes there are multiple login pages for each role or each user. So it's a good idea to add URLs where to log in, as mentioned a while ago. So this on our second step is as user A, inject the payload below as first name. And then that's your second step. And then put your payload. And for the third step is to trigger the XSS login as user B and visit the following URL. So as you can see, I added the less than and greater than sign here. So insert a screenshot. So screenshot is usually helpful if there's a lot of link on the forms that you need to click in order to reproduce the issue or the bug. So this would prevent the confusion between the analysts and the researchers. So always use an arrow to pinpoint the exact location where to click, okay? Next pointer is insert a POC video only if the bug is hard to replicate. So there are some cases that the bugs you found is complex. You need to click a lot of links and repeat a lot of requests, or you need to go to different pages in order to reproduce the bug. So in this kind of scenario, POC video is a good choice. Also take note, in creating a POC video, add a caption. on it. So just to make it more detailed, you don't need to edit the video. You could use the text file and do the recording. So for example, this is the steps. What you need is to highlight it and continue the recording, and then highlight this again, and then continue the recording, continue what you're doing on the application, and then highlight this. So that's in that way that will be more detailed. Okay. So the last pointer is the bug must have a security impact. So make sure that it can affect users, application, or the server, or it can disclose any assets of the companies. So make sure always provide the security impact details. Okay. So that's it. Hopefully you learned something new from my talk, and don't forget to keep safe and hack the planet.